But through experiencing that art, you may, if you reflect on it, find that mutual connection around our common humanity, just as I did. In fact, I know it has that effect on people. So I strongly suggest that you bring some of the tools and processes to do things in that creative, innovative, extraordinary way. Business has said it. That's who they're looking for out here today. If all you do is graduate with your degree and do what that degree has taught you to do in the way that it's taught you to do it, but not something extra, I'm sorry, but you're just one among millions looking for jobs right now. You think about what makes you, what can make you stand out and unique. Making that which is ordinary, extraordinary. Making yourself extraordinary. And I would say apply some of the creative and innovative procedures and processes about the way you offer what you offer like an artist. Think like an artist. It could be a very powerful thing for you that you may find beneficial and help you stand out from the crowd. If you don't, the crowd is getting bigger out there. The crowd is getting much bigger. And so you need to think in those kinds of ways. There's a couple of other quick comments that I wanted to share before we have a little Q&A. And that is, what are some of the trends that you might want to think about and be aware of that are going on today? There is one other. I'm sorry. Just before I go into that, there's one other thing I wanted to mention. The arts are also increasingly being used as a social tool. Did you know that Winthrop University is engaged in such a project? It's a national project initiated. It's a national project initiated by Americans for the Arts. The acronym is AFTA, A-F-T-A. It's a national project called Arts and Civic Engagement. Any of you aware of that? Any of you? Are you involved in it? Are you? Well, much respect. Go ahead. Good. Because the Arts and Civic Engagement Project is also engaging the arts in another way, and that is to show how the arts can be a community connector. Just like I talked about how it can get us to identify our common humanity, it can be a community connector to help young people and the whole community to find ways to be engaged in things that are about improving their community, engaged in civic projects and civic purposeful initiatives, but using the arts as a vehicle. Tonight, there's a reception I'm going to go to right in Rock Hill. Have any of you heard of the artist Patrick Doherty? He's got that big, amazing outdoor art. He's got something sitting down there in Rock Hill. If you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. It's art you can walk into. And it's all made from growing twigs and sticks and things. But it's looking like a bunch of heads with their mouths open laughing, and you can walk in their mouths. I mean, it's awesome. It's amazing. But that kind of art, they're having a reception tonight, and guess what? It's being sponsored not just by the Arts Council, but the City Council, the Economic Regeneration people, the County Commission people, all of them are involved. That's arts and the civic community who are putting this on, focused on the art, and they're bringing the whole community together. This is happening right here on your doorstep, initiated by Winthrop, in conjunction with Clinton Junior College and the Arts Council of Rock Hill and York County. This is going on right on your doorstep, and it's a national initiative right here in Winthrop and Rock Hill that's going on. And it's another thing that's showing the power of the arts. Where communities are becoming divided or segregated and fragmented, they're talking about using the arts as a tool for civic engagement and bringing communities together. Winthrop and Rock Hill are already doing it. Get connected, y'all. Get connected to it. Because this is a positive thing. And they've been having this going on for what? This is about the third year for that project? So. Yeah. I mean, I would strongly suggest you look at these things because these are also trends where the arts have relevance and meaning in today's lives. The other things I wanted to mention is that people sometimes think the art are fluff. Many people don't know there was a national study done by the Arts Council of York County and Americans for the Arts did a study on the economic impact of the arts. And what do you think the economic impact of the arts in York County would have been? Just guess, throw out a figure. What do you think, and when I say economic impact, I mean the amount of dollars generated into the economy that in some way was related to the arts. What do you think that figure would be? Just take a guess. Think about York County. Any thoughts? Not a clue.
$1 million.
Multiply it times 7.
Wow.
The arts in York County, this study was just recently done. The arts in York County, combination of small towns and rural communities throughout this county, has had already a $7 million impact in a time of great unemployment and difficulty. Restaurants, hotels, other spin-off, the art supply businesses, you know, people who need space to either perform or create their art, studio spaces, things like this. It's created a $7 million impact within the last 2 years in just York County alone. So this is another trend to look at, because have any of you heard of this term that they're using increasingly now, that most cities are trying to look for creating a concentration of what they're calling the creative class? Have you heard that term? If you haven't, y'all students, y'all better get online and look this stuff up. The creative class are those that we talked about earlier, those who go beyond, who are operating in the age of information and communication technology, but who go beyond the normal way of operating, and they're the creative and innovative thinkers. Every town and every city is looking for creative class people to come to their town and city, because in the information technology and communications age, they're the ones who drive new and innovative things to happen in their cities and towns. Well, the creative class is a reality in many towns and cities. Austin is known. Austin, Texas, it's famous for having a concentration of where the creative class lives. Guess who else is trying to create that same kind of synergy? Charlotte. Charlotte is creating that synergy. They're creating a whole cultural district that's trying to attract the creative class to come to Charlotte, because the banking jobs are drying up. But the creative class jobs are still there. They're opening new creative institutions, new institutions. So I mention this because these are things that as students I'd like you to think about and be aware of. Some of the other trends, and I just want to touch on them real quick, that are happening. Let's see, is that my third? Yeah, there's one other. Here we go. I thought I left it. The other trend that you might want to keep in mind is there's another trend growing globally. And because I've lived and worked abroad and think globally, even though I work locally, that was a slogan that I've always liked. Think globally, but work and live locally. Because if you don't, you'll get left behind in the way the world is changing now. But there's a new trend that's no longer, you know how we used to talk about diversity and everything? Well, there's a new trend, and they're calling it cultural democracy. There's whole books and articles about it. There's this gentleman actually is from Canada, but he's a theoretician and practitioner who runs an organization and is leading a lot of this discussion here in America. Cultural democracy is the idea, again, that not just the formal arts, but the informal arts, the grassroots stuff, the banjo players, the church choirs, the cloggers, the break dancers, you know what I'm saying? The informal arts, the arts that are outside that formal art structure, they should also be supported because they're an integral part of the vital life of any community. The formal arts usually belong, or are perceived to belong, more to the well-to-do, educated, and people who have the financial and educational means to enjoy the arts. Is really not limited to them, but it's perceived as primarily their work. Those who are creating the other forms of art, they're trying to suggest they also need to be considered. And this concept around the world globally, and the National Endowment for the Arts has just agreed to take on this concept more, and so has the Association of American Cultures. So be aware of cultural democracy. And it's just what it says, that everybody has an equal place in the cultural arena. Everybody has a more equitable place in the cultural arena than regarding some as high art and some as low art and some as no art. Well, it's all some form of arts and culture, and if you have a democratic approach to it, there's a way to engage more and more of your community in a constructive way. These are some trends I'd like you to keep in mind. I hope I've shared some information that might prove to be a little bit relevant to you, or hopefully even more for some than others. And Amanda, how much time do we have? Are we pretty much done now?
No, I think we have a few minutes. Is it about 2 minutes?
If we have any time for a little Q&A and exchange, I really would like to have a little bit of dialogue with any of you who might have anything you want to either say, any comments, or any questions. But I hope you found something of relevance out of today's talk and found it worth your time to be here.